Alright, y'all, so we finna watch some more Alex Bell. I told y'all I was gonna get more into conspiracy theories, man, and I mentioned the SpongeBob conspiracies, bruh. These shits be good, bruh. These shits be good as hell. So if you haven't already, like I said, go to his channel, alright, and go watch some of his conspiracy theories on SpongeBob. That shit'll really have you over, or like rethinking your whole childhood type shit on some shit. But that's why I'm glad I got this video. We're not gonna react to the whole thing because y'all see it's an hour long and we ain't nobody got time for that. Okay, but I'm gonna leave the original video or the actual video, the full video, down in the description below for y'all, so y'all can go watch it on your own for yourself. Make your own damn reaction channel. All right, but might just be like the half mark, and then like I said, y'all can go watch that shit for yourself. I would have done like a part 2, but yeah, it's no point. You feel me? Just go watch that shit for yourself. All right, like I said, the first couple ones seem like some really good theories so far. The imagination theory, that sounds fire. Skeletons theory, that sounds fire. The Miss Puff theory, that sounds fire, cause I know about that theory. It's a part 2 to it, so that's fire. Debunking crab theory, that sounds fire. Got something to do with Mr. Krabs. The human war theory, that sounds fire as well. We might just stop it right there. You feel me? So let's get into it, bruh.
There is a secret alien jellyfish invasion happening in Bikini Bottom. Mr. Krabs has been replaced by a fake imaginary doppelganger. Larry the Lobster is secretly a Bikini Bottom drug lord kingpin, and many, many more mind-blowing reveals in these 8 final SpongeBob mini-theories. I originally posted these theories as a part of my giant 4-hour-long final SpongeBob conspiracy compilation, but some people said it was kind of annoying to skip through the old content just to find the new theories, so I'm reposting just the mini-theories here for your convenience. And also to milk these theories for every cent I can.
Hello! I like money!
I worked hard on these mini-theories, I think I deserve that. And hey, after you're done, still go check out that compilation because the old theories have a ton of new content in them too. Please enjoy the final SpongeBob theories I will ever post, and stick around till the end to hear what other shows and movies I will be covering next. Thank you, let's...
Boom, we gotta react to that one. I ain't gonna lie, cause I love me some Avatar, The Last Airbender, so we definitely gonna react to that, John.
begin.
Imagination.
So, here's a question I've been...
Y'all peep like the echo? I'm sorry, I'm pausing it and shit. This is gonna be the last pause. Maybe. But like the echo and shit, like that shit, he put that shit in every video. That shit really creep a nigga out. I ain't even gonna lie. Let me know if that shit creep you out, dog. I don't know what the fuck.
I've been asked from the very start of making these SpongeBob theories, how is there fire underwater? It's probably one of the most obvious contradictions in this show, and the creators will usually go out of their way to draw attention to the fact that it doesn't make any sense.
At least it's warm around the fire.
Hey, if we're underwater, how could there be a...
Whoever sent this obviously has no idea about the physical limitations of life underwater. Might as well throw these in the fire.
So finally, I will give the people my answer to this infamous age-old question, how is there fire underwater?
Good question.
It's just a cartoon.
Right.
I'm not kidding, that's actually my answer. SpongeBob is not the real world. It's a cartoon. It has its own cartoon logic where absurd things like fire being underwater can happen. But that doesn't mean there's nothing here to theorize about. Just because it's cartoon logic doesn't mean it's not still logic. If you pay close attention, you can see that there is a consistent internal logic and rules to how this cartoon world really works. And I think how SpongeBob cartoon logic works is best explained in the Season 3 episode, Idiot Box. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick spend the day playing inside of a box, but Squidward keeps hearing impossible sound effects coming from it.
SpongeBob?
And how are
God
these sound effects?
damn!
How are you two making those noises?
Imagination.
With their imagination. And this is key to understanding how the SpongeBob world really works.
Word.
This episode tells us that anything that is imagined in SpongeBob can physically come to life. we can see this imagination rule in every single episode of the show. The most obvious example of this is when a character is thinking and a thought bubble appears above their head. But in SpongeBob, these thought bubbles are real physical things. Other characters can see and physically interact with them.
Wait, hold on! My pen is out of ink.
Plankton! You'll never get me formula, not even in a flashback.
Because things imagined in SpongeBob come to life. And this goes far beyond just thought bubbles. It explains how characters are constantly getting new props and costumes out of nowhere. Where did SpongeBob suddenly get this hat and sign? Where did he get this glove or all of these costumes that instantly appear and disappear? It's because SpongeBob is imagining all of these props. This can be used to explain almost every single absurd gag in this show.
Wait, Patrick, you're supposed to let me win, remember?
Oh, yeah?
Patrick is imagining himself getting beat up here.
Said it's gonna be a good one, just wait and see.
SpongeBob is imagining the sun talking to him and burning his bedroom, and SpongeBob and Patrick are imagining that fire is able to exist underwater. And if you still don't believe me, look what happens when Patrick questions the logic behind the fire.
Hey, if we're underwater, how could there be a...
The moment they start doubting the logic of the fire, it disappears because they're no longer able to imagine it. This rule also seems to be limited by how imaginative each character is. Squidward, who never even got the idiot box to work, rarely ever manifests any imaginations, while SpongeBob, arguably the most imaginative character in the show, has created living characters like Doodle Bob and Bubble Buddy using his imagination, both of which have ended up continually reappearing throughout the entire show. Bubble Buddy even went on to create an entire bubble town full of bubble citizens, all stemming from SpongeBob's imagination. This theory also explains why Mrs. Puff gets trapped in so many delusions. They are literally manifesting around her because of her imagination. Okay.
That's
but
real.
What's the point of explaining all of this? Even if you didn't know the exact mechanics of it, you probably already understood that random stuff can just appear and disappear in a cartoon. I'm not really telling you anything groundbreaking. But once you fully understand this idea, it adds a whole new context to so many things in this show. One of the most interesting being how dreams seem to affect the world. Specifically,
This is too real. I ain't gonna lie, this shit getting too real, cause it's like, it got to do with real life. Like, nigga, matter of fact, I ain't even gotta explain it for real. Like, I ain't even gotta explain myself for real. Go watch Spiritual Homie, you feel me? Go watch The Power of Your Imagination. Well, watch that video about Spiritual Homie. That's a very great vid, bruh. I'm gonna leave it down in the description too. Go watch that vid, cause this really explaining really what the fuck. Like, this is crazy. This is actually crazy. Like, they really showing y'all in the kid show, like, nigga, what the fuck you think in your imagination, nigga, you can spawn that bitch in real life. You can manifest it into real life. And then if you know what I'm saying, not having the belief of it being there, not having the belief of whatever it is you want to spawn in the real life, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna spawn in the real life because you not believing in it. You got some doubt. You feel me? It's negative vibes towards it. So, like, it looked like he diving into the dreams. So, you know what I'm saying? I was gonna say something about dreams because we speak about dreams before too. You feel me? When it come to dreams, y'all know Shark Boy and Lava Girl. You feel me? That was based off of bro spawning his dreams into real life, pretty much. You feel me? So that just goes to show the power of the tongue, or the power of writing as well. Okay, like, the power of just believing what you want to have in real life. The power of your imagination. This is why they try to bash us as little niggas and shit, to not use our imagination. Bro, we gotta use our imagination, bro. Alright? No cap.
specifically SpongeBob's dreams. In Season 1 Sleepy Time, SpongeBob dreams about finally getting his license, but then he crashes and Mrs. Puff takes his license away. And this is exactly what happens later in the Season 2 episode, No Free Rides. Mrs. Puff gives him a license, instantly regrets it, and after SpongeBob crashes his car, Mrs. Puff takes his license away. So, did SpongeBob's dream predict this event? Or did his imagination literally cause it to happen? Okay, you're not convinced yet? Don't worry. This is far from the only instance of this happening. In Season 2 Procrastination, SpongeBob dreams about his pineapple burning down, which happens later in Season 9 Gary's New Toy. In Season 5 Roller Cowards, he dreams about crashing on a Glove World roller coaster, and then it happens in Season 10 Don't Wake Patrick. Even dreams we don't see come true. In Squids on a Bus, Squidward becomes a bus driver for the day, and SpongeBob says this.
I've always dreamed one day I'd board a bus and see you driving it.
Now, I already know what you're gonna say. SpongeBob's a very long-running show. A lot of these basic plots were bound to happen eventually, right? You know, it's like how The Simpsons can predict the future. But in Season 4's Fear of Krabby Patties, SpongeBob dreams about everyone in the Krusty Krab turning into giant killer Krabby Patties. That is a very weird and specific plot, and yet that's still exactly what happens 7 seasons later in Krabby Patty Creature Feature, when Mr. Krabs feeds people experimental Krabby Patties and turns everyone into giant mutant Krabby Patty monsters that try to hunt SpongeBob down. It seems like all of SpongeBob's dreams eventually manifest into real life because of the unlimited power of his imagination. Okay, that's all pretty interesting, right? But you want to know something really crazy? While researching this theory, I discovered something insane. Honestly, it may be one of the craziest discoveries I've ever found in this show. Are you ready? In the Season 6 special, Truth or Square, all of the characters get trapped inside of the massive ventilation system beneath the Krusty Krab.
There's an entire network of tunnels and air ducts underground.
At a certain point, Mr. Krabs gets separated from the group.
A crossroads. I'll go this way, and SpongeBob, you lead him down that way.
SpongeBob then takes a break to tell the story of when Mr. Krabs told him the Krabby Patty secret formula.
This reminds me of the time Mr. Krabs confided in me the Krabby Patty recipe. Mr. Krabs called me into his office.
And then something really strange happens. After the story, we cut back to the group, and Mr. Krabs is somehow back with them after previously being separated. I'm serious. There's no scene of them being reunited. He's just gone and then back somehow, and it's never explained in this episode. I mean, what was even the point of wasting time and money animating them split up if they were just gonna immediately bring Mr. Krabs back without any explanation?
I'll go this way, and SpongeBob, you lead him down that way.
You could literally remove the scene of Mr. Krabs separating from them, and the episode would make total sense. But wait a second. Look at how SpongeBob's story ends.
You can never tell another living soul.
Wait, hold on!
Plankton! You'll never get me formula, not even in a flashback.
SpongeBob.
Imaginary Mr. Krabs from inside of the thought bubble grabs Plankton and throws him down a vent. And when we cut back, Mr. Krabs is suddenly back sitting with the group. The obvious explanation is that this isn't the real Mr. Krabs. This is still the imaginary Krabs from SpongeBob's story who came to life. And the real Mr. Krabs is still somewhere lost inside of the Krusty Krab vents, and they never switched back. The Mr. Krabs they escape with is not the real Mr. Krabs. And every time we see Mr. Krabs after this Season 6 episode, he's actually a fake imaginary doppelganger. And the real one is still trapped beneath the Krusty Krab somewhere. It's the reason why Mr. Krabs in later seasons has become such a one-dimensional character, going from someone who was cheap but still genuinely cared about his employees and family to a one-note cartoon villain. It's because he actually was replaced by a flat, imaginary imitation of the original. And I know what you're gonna say, there's no way SpongeBob would imagine him to be that way. Well, think again.
Show me what you got.
Look at me. I'm Mr. Krabs. I love money. Every night I tuck me wallet in and tell it a bedtime story. Ooh, what's that you say? Me daughter Pearl needs an operation? I'll do it myself and save a nickel.
That'll do, SpongeBob.
And that is the imagination theory. 7 more mini-theories left. Woo!
Spooky, scary skeleton.
Send shivers down your spine. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, that was a good ass theory right there. That actually, like, yeah, it actually was a little twist at the end regarding Mr. Krabs. Like, that was like a good ass theory. Like, maybe that nigga really is stuck under the Krusty Krab. Like, this whole time, and niggas not even knowing it. Like, that shit crazy. But yeah, that just go to show, like they be putting shit like that, little shit like that in the show, like, and it be people like him, like Alex Bell, to catch it. Like, that's fire, like, that's different, bro. But it's like, why would they put it in the show to even put it in the show? Like, they had to put it in the show for that reason, you feel me? For a nigga like Alex Bell to figure it out and come on this bitch and speak the real, you feel me? No bullshit. This ain't no conspiracy, nigga.
Shivers down your spine.
It's a facts. It's facts, nigga.
Just a heads up, some of these new mini theories kind of build off of my old SpongeBob conspiracies. So if you've never seen my television theory, I recommend watching that first. So there's this viral image that's gone around the internet that points out a really funny detail about this show. There seems to be a frightening number of miniature dead human skeletons in SpongeBob. And it's a really funny observation, but it's also really strange because why are there a bunch of mini dead human skeletons in SpongeBob? Like, the animators already have a generic design for a fish skeleton. Why are they going out of their way to make these human skeletons? They're obviously much more detailed and harder to draw. And this is something we see in both early and modern SpongeBob. Well, I think the television theory actually provides a pretty good explanation for this. We know there's tons of human scuba divers secretly filming the show, and it even looks like some of them are fish-sized, and we know there is shrinking technology in this show, so like I've already said, I think it's fair to assume that humans shrunk themselves down to better film these characters undetected, which explains why we see so many tiny human skeletons. They're the crew members who sadly passed away during the filming of SpongeBob. They are deep underwater after all, it's not the safest place for humans to be. And that's about all I had to say about this topic. It's not actually that interesting. I probably wouldn't have even bothered making this separate mini theory if it wasn't for a very interesting piece of SpongeBob history that was recently made public. The original SpongeBob pitch Bible, the document created by Steven Hillenburg in 1997 to pitch the show to Nickelodeon, was just recently finally made available to the public. And it is full of fascinating early ideas and concept art for the show. But what's interesting to me is that much like the show itself, the pitch Bible is presented like a fictional in-universe report from a team of deep-sea divers discovering Bikini Bottom for the first time. An afternoon ascent into the deep crystalline gulf, which plummets from the island's coral base, revealed the natural wonder which had so long eluded the eyes of mankind. We had indeed found Sponge Boy, which was the original name for SpongeBob. There before us, glistening in the glow of our dive lamps, sat a submerged treasure unlike any other in the world. We were afforded a first-hand glimpse into the character of Sponge Boy and his world. It's crazy that even the pitch Bible for this show has lore. If this doesn't prove the television theory, I don't know what does. But there's something in this Bible that I always thought was a little strange. On page 12, there's a dedication section. It describes one of the first expeditions to Bikini Bottom taken by a deep-sea diver named Bucky Leavitt, using a new and untested diving suit, which ultimately imploded from the undersea pressures. Bucky died making the only known map of Bikini Bottom. It is to Bucky and his pioneer spirit that we dedicate this research. It's kind of a strange thing to include in a pitch for a kids show, of all things. The story seems to be inspired by Benjamin Leavitt, the inventor of the suit shown in this photo, but there's no record of him ever dying during an expedition. So it seems like this story about Bucky was completely made up just to add more lore to the show. So it then begs the question, if he is a character in this universe, where is Bucky's body? Could he possibly be one of the human skeletons we've seen throughout the show? Well, we know Bucky died in his old prototype diving suit, so I think his body would probably still be inside of it. So the real question is, do we know of any diving suits in Bikini Bottom? And yes, we do. We see it almost every episode. SpongeBob's television SpongeBob's TV is clearly supposed to be an old diving suit helmet, but it's strange because it's so small compared to diving suits we've seen worn by other humans. So either this diving suit is from a shrunken human, or it's been compressed down to a smaller size by the pressures of the sea, just like Bucky's. We even see SpongeBob's TV design was a part of the original pitch Bible. I think there's a very good chance that this is supposed to be at least the head of Bucky Leavitt. I think every time SpongeBob is watching TV, he's actually staring directly at a dead human skull. And if you don't believe me, in Season 10's Whirly Brain, SpongeBob and Patrick fight over the TV and actually pull it apart. And for the very first time ever, we get a look inside. It's an extremely fast moment, but if you go frame by frame, you'll see that inside of SpongeBob's TV...
Nah, that is crazy. I ain't gonna lie. Like, for a kid show though, like, bro, it just be little shit. Like, what? It just be little shit. Like, they're sneaking in there. Like, that's crazy. That is outrageous, bro. That is fucking crazy, bro. That is crazy, bro.
TV is what looks like a human skull. And that is skeleton theory.
That was fire. That was fire. It's the fact that it's like, it's not the fact of it like being the skeleton, it's the fact of like the story behind it that he just explained. Like, if y'all didn't get that, play it back, cause bro, like, that's crazy. I ain't gonna lie. That's crazy. This nigga watching the dead, man. Alright, yeah, let's get it going, bro.
Rest in peace, Bucky.
This next one my favorite, I ain't gonna lie. You're doing a part 2 to it.
This is the only mini theory that's just like a straight up part 2 of one of my old theories. So obviously, if you haven't seen the original Mrs. Puff theory yet, then it probably won't make too much sense.
Go watch it, bro.
There's been a lot of new evidence that's come out about Mrs. Puff since I posted my theory. Some I already added to the main theory, like her real name being discovered, so go watch that if you haven't already. But I saved some really cool discoveries and new ideas just for this mini theory. Like, in Lighthouse Louie, I missed this the first time, but if you look closely in her pile of junk, you can actually see a dead police officer's corpse! Oh my god! Ah! Ah! Actually, no, this is just an obstacle from her training course. But I bet you didn't know, in Camp Coral, we see her dispose of the real Mrs. Puff's dead body! Also no, this is just a piñata that looks like her. Okay, but they're clearly trying to mess with us at this point. Before I get into the actual new discoveries, I want to talk about some alternative ideas I've come up with for some parts of the Mrs. Puff theory. As I've already said, I'm not the biggest fan of where I took the third part of this theory. I really wanted there to be this big reveal about why the prison is forcing Mrs. Puff to teach SpongeBob, when, in reality, it just makes so much more sense that, like in Doing Time, every time Mrs. Puff sees SpongeBob in jail, she's actually just hallucinating.
Good day, class. I must be having a nightmare.
You know, there's just way more direct evidence in the show to support this, as opposed to this convoluted warden theory. And it's further supported by my new imagination mini theory from earlier in this video. We know the show exists in a world where things you imagine can easily come to life. And Mrs. Puff
now
is
we know
constantly
that
imagining
now we
the
know
fear
that.
of SpongeBob or the guilt from her past mistakes.
That imagination theory, that shit is like the foundation of the whole show. Like, nigga, it's just imagination. Like, you can't take this shit serious because it's a cartoon, of course. But like, then again, it's like little shit here and there to where it's though like, it's like the story behind this shit. Like, you feel me? It's deeper. Like Mr. Krabs falling down, like this nigga under the Krusty Krab whole time. This nigga SpongeBob hallucinating and shit. Like, come on, bruh. It's
so
like
it makes sense
it's
that she would
deeper,
get
bro.
trapped in her own delusions so often. But there's always been this big loose end in my theory that I've always wanted to find a way to wrap up. We know Mrs. Puff prematurely gave a license to one of her previous students in New Kelp City, and that led to the city being destroyed.
Local consensus places the blame on this negligent, selfish driving instructor.
But who was Mrs. Puff's original student before SpongeBob? And while we haven't gotten any new evidence about this, I think I've got two strong candidates for who it could be. One of the best comments I got from the Mrs. Puff video was the idea that the original student was actually SpongeBob's cousin, Stanley S. Squarepants.
Hi, Squidward. I'd like you to meet my cousin Stanley. We're related.
There's two of them?
Stanley is a character we meet for only one episode in Season 5. He's SpongeBob's cousin from out of town, and he's extremely accident-prone, even more than SpongeBob.
Damn.
Now, we don't know what town he's from, but we know his Uncle Sherm sent him away because he was too destructive. So he totally fits the idea of Mrs. Puff's former student that probably destroyed New Kelp City. It would also add another layer to why Mrs. Puff is so tortured by SpongeBob specifically. He would literally look and act exactly like her former student.
There's two of them?
So yeah, I think this is totally plausible. Great comment. The only thing that kind of holds this theory back is the lack of any actual concrete connection between Stanley and Mrs. Puff. Like, unfortunately, they're never in the same episode. But I think I have another possible candidate for this mystery student. Someone who we actually see interact with Mrs. Puff. In the Mrs. Puff theory, I theorized that the entire episode doing time was all imagined by Mrs. Puff, and everything we see, even small details like her changing prison uniforms, are symbolic for what's really going on inside of her head. But if that's true, then what does this random other prisoner that keeps showing up symbolize?
Hey there, Puff Mama. What's today's grub?
Hi, Donna. It's chilly.
I wouldn't have thought much about it if it wasn't for this very interesting moment where she returns at the end of the episode.
Oh, it's just my imagination again.
So what's for dinner tonight, Puff Mama? Chili?
I think this could be implying that Donna is Mrs. Puff's original student. We see her driving Mrs. Puff's boat in a free-fall crash, just like her old student probably also did. And then she literally gets replaced by SpongeBob.
So what's for dinner tonight, Puff Mama? Chili?
Forget it.
Just like how he actually replaced her original student. So yeah, I think both Donna and Stanley are pretty good candidates for the original student. Stanley is a bit more thematically fitting, but Donna actually has some direct evidence in the show. So yeah, I could see it being either of them. But that's all just tying up loose ends. The real reason I decided to cover Mrs. Puff again in this mini-theory is because of two major new developments in recent SpongeBob episodes. The first is in the Season 13 episode, Arbor Day Disarray. In this episode, Sandy gives everyone trees she grew, and we get this scene between Mrs. Puff and her tree.
I love talking to someone who knows how to keep a secret. I can finally tell someone what really happened when I pulled that job in Shell City.
What really happened when I pulled that job in Shell City? They're still adding more mysteries to solve about Mrs. Puff. It sounds like Mrs. Puff did some kind of heist or maybe has some connection to Shell City from the SpongeBob movie. And if you remember, I theorized that Shell City was the place Mr. Puff, her former dead husband, was being held. They end up setting off the smoke detector, which activates the sprinkler system and brings all the dead fish back to life, including a very familiar looking pufferfish hanging from the ceiling. Mr. Puff is alive. So, is it possible this job is somehow related to Mr. Puff? Well, before we get into that, there is one more new development we need to talk about. In the Season 14 episode, Hysterical History, for the very first time ever, we actually do get to definitively see Mr. Puff when he was alive.
Bikini Bottom's own titan of industry, Mr. Puff, ran the first successful boat assembly line.
So, this episode is just a bunch of flashbacks from Bikini Bottom's history, and we learn...
Like he said, it's the fact that, like, they still adding, like, more shit. Like, cause y'all know SpongeBob, nigga, they still making shows, nigga, they still making episodes, bro. It's the fact that they still adding, like, more shit to figure out, like, you know what I'm saying? Just to be able to dive deeper, like I said, into what the fuck really going on in the show. You feel me? Like, Like, it's whole backstories to these niggas, like, to all these characters. Like, that shit is crazy, bro.
Learned that Mr. Puff was actually a wealthy businessman who ran a boat factory. And Sandy later confirms that this is all actually true. This isn't just a story SpongeBob made up. Now, Mr. Puff looks and sounds a lot like Mrs. Puff.
Speed up, line number 5.
And the other flashbacks in this episode seem to be about ancestors of our main characters. So maybe this is actually supposed to be just a relative of Mrs. Puff, not her dead husband. But remember, Mrs. Puff is not originally from Bikini Bottom, and we know her last name isn't really Puff, it's Blowfish. So this is most likely her former husband, Mr. Puff, before he died. And unfortunately, this does seem to disprove my Mr. Puff theory, because he clearly looks very different than the pufferfish we see in Shell City. But even if this pufferfish wasn't Mr. Puff, I don't think I was wrong about Mr. Puff being at Shell City. The fact that he's shown as a dried up, hanging pufferfish with googly eyes is way too similar to be a coincidence. And then there's the fact that they just confirmed Mrs. Puff has some sort of history with Shell City specifically. I think Mr. Puff was abducted and taken to Shell City, but the reason why we don't see him in the SpongeBob movie is probably because he was already sold to someone else by that point, meaning he was unfortunately never saved by SpongeBob. So that leaves us with one final question. What was the job Mrs. Puff pulled at Shell City, and what does it have to do with her husband's death? Well, my first guess is that this job was some sort of rescue mission to save Mr. Puff from Shell City and she failed. But listen to how she talks about it.
I can finally tell someone what really happened when I pulled that job in Shell City.
Whatever happened at Shell City, she's happy about it. In fact, it's kind of a sinister, nefarious happiness.
Exactly.
What really happened when I pulled that job?
She's not devastated that her husband was lost forever. She's happy about it. I never really considered this before, but could Mrs. Puff actually be responsible for her husband's death? Did Mrs. Puff kill her husband? I mean, we know Plankton sold Neptune's crown to Shell City.
I just wanted to say thanks again for selling me the crown. I sold it to a guy in Shell City.
So it does seem possible to arrange for this kind of thing to happen. And Arbor Day Disarray ends with Mrs. Puff's tree ratting her out to the police.
Hello, police department? I got a lead on that Shell City job.
I gotta go.
Why would the Bikini Bottom police care about something she did at a human gift shop? I mean, they didn't care when SpongeBob stole from there. The only explanation is that she wasn't stealing from humans, she was giving them something, or someone, from Bikini Bottom, Mr. Puff. Mrs. Puff arranged for fishermen to kidnap and kill her husband. That's what really happened at Shell City. But why? Well, other than Mr. Puff kind of seeming like a jerk who mistreats his employees, he's also very wealthy, which means that when he died, in a way that can't be traced back to Mrs. Puff, as his wife, she would inherit his money. Which explains how Mrs. Puff, who previously had to abandon her entire life and start over from scratch in Bikini Bottom, could afford to open a massive boating school. Maybe this was her plan all along, get close to some rich jerk, marry him, and then have him killed to inherit his money. These little breadcrumbs they've given us have told us so much more about Mrs. Puff's past. But also, maybe, just maybe, her future as well. Mr. Puff was portrayed as a greedy, unethical capitalist who only cared about money, even at the expense of his employees. And does that remind you of anyone else in Mrs. Puff's life?
Unhand that penny or the arm comes off! Keep on trucking, SpongeBob!
How could you trade SpongeBob for 62 cents?
You think I could have gotten more?
If she did it to Mr. Puff, who's to say she's not planning to do it again to Mr. Krabs? Maybe this is the entire reason why she's dating him. Let's just hope Mr. Krabs isn't planning on getting married anytime soon. The imaginary doppelganger Mr. Krabs, that is. And that is the Mrs. Puff theory Part 2.
So she like dating Casper type shit. Cause my nigga, if the nigga not real no more cause he stuck under the Krusty Krab, then like, what the fuck? You feel me? Like, I'm really stuck on the fact, like, this nigga Eugene Krabs, this nigga is under the fucking Krusty Krab. Like, this nigga is imaginary. Like he a doppelganger, nigga. Like, nigga, SpongeBob, nigga, he tweaking out. The whole gang tweaking out. Cause how the fuck do you all see this nigga Mr. Krabs? What the fuck is going on?
Excited because we get to talk to the voice of Karen today, Jill Talley.
I love trying to make sense out of SpongeBob. My adorable nephew called me up and he just was like,
Okay, this next part isn't actually a new mini-theory. It's actually just me debunking the popular Krabby Patty is crab meat theory that people keep commenting about, just because it annoys me. But don't worry, there's still gonna be 8 new actual theories in this video. This is just a little bonus.
So that's what I do.
Alright, so we not gonna watch this theory since he already explained what it already was, okay? This nigga Eugene Krabs is selling crab meat at the Krusty Krab. Wait, was it crab meat? I think it was crab meat. I think so. I'm pretty sure. Damn. I forgot how this fucking shit go. We just gonna watch it, bro. Fuck it. Should I? Nah. Cause he did explain what it was, right?
So that's what I taste like.
This is supposed to be the smoking gun piece of evidence that's all over TikTok, but nobody...
Yeah, this nigga eating himself, nigga. This nigga eating the gang. This nigga eating all the crabs.
Nobody actually shows the clip with context. So, if there's one thing I'd probably change about my evolution theory, it would be the second part about the war.
After the war, Krabs stayed secluded in a deep depression that seemed endless.
I think there definitely was a war in Bikini Bottom, but I don't think it was between evolved and primitive fish anymore. There is just way more evidence that the war Mr. Krabs fought in was actually a war between fish and humans. And I think this concept for a human war has been secretly present in the show from the very start. Every single building in Bikini Bottom is made out of some sort of debris from the human world. Now, this is a reference to how marine ecosystems in real life often form around things that fell from the surface. But the debris isn't always just random objects or pollution. A surprising amount of the buildings feel like they're from the aftermath of a massive war. There are a ton of buildings made out of sunken ships, but there's also anchors, submarines, lobster traps, bait and tackle boxes, undersea mines. There's even a building made out of a dead bucket of fish. If you really look at the show's aesthetic, it gives the impression that Bikini Bottom is an Adventure Time style post-apocalyptic wasteland where a massive war between humans and fish took place. Mr. Krabs' Navy Convention Center is literally a giant torpedo. We get further confirmation of this as early as Season 1 Hooky, when a bunch of humans start fishing in Bikini Bottom. Pay close attention to how Mr. Krabs reacts.
They're back! They're back, I tell you! I saw it with my own eyes!
They're back. Mr. Krabs has dealt with this before, probably because these were the same hooks from the war he fought in. From humans' perspective, they're just fishing, but for the citizens of Bikini Bottom, this was a brutal war. And listen to what he says about what happens if the hooks catch you.
They cook you, and then they eat you, or worse.
What could be worse than that?
Gift shops.
You'll end up in gift shops. This gives a whole new context to the Shell City gift shop we see in the SpongeBob movie.
Wait a second. Those fish are dead.
All these dead fish are victims from the human war. Look, the gift shop in Hookie even has a very similar sign to the Shell City gift shop. Among the dead fish in Shell City, we specifically see the same type of royal seahorses King Neptune uses. Which makes sense because as King of the Sea, he would probably be the one commanding the army to go fight the humans. Movie Neptune even talks about Shell City like he has personal experience with it.
My crown is in the forbidden Shell City!
No one who's gone to Shell City has ever returned!
I guess this could also mean Mr. Puff was a victim of the war, but I kinda prefer the idea from my new Mrs. Puff mini theory. We also see giant hooks all over Mr. Krabs' wall of memorabilia, along with other human fishing tools. There's even a picture of the Bikini Bottom museum ship before it was sunk in the war and later turned into a museum. There's also this picture of a human pirate. And before you say anything, no, this is not Patchy. It's probably just someone he fought in the war. Listen, I still definitely think these pictures could be Pearl's mother, and she's still the source of the Krabby Patty meat, but instead of Mr. Krabs killing her, she was probably just a casualty of the human war, and Mr. Krabs just found her dead body and adopted her orphan daughter. There's also the Hook Museum, which with this context looks much more just like a straight up war museum. Now, these are smaller hooks, so I initially thought maybe this was just a museum of hooks made by evolved fish to catch primitive fish like clams, but listen closely to the audio Mr. Krabs is listening to.
The three-pronged jig hook was first sighted in local waters more than 100 years ago.
The hook was first sighted in local waters more than 100 years ago. This is definitely a museum of human hooks, and we now know this war has been going on for at least 100 years. There's also tons of movies and TV shows in Bikini Bottom based around the horrors of hooks.
Tonight's frightening feature.
The idea of this human war is everywhere in the show, and it's played a big role in shaping the culture of Bikini Bottom. But here's the strange thing about all of this. The Bikini Bottom we see today is not at war. The only time we see humans fishing in Bikini Bottom is in this one single episode, and Mr. Krabs even says they're back.
They're back!
As if this is not a normal occurrence. This implies that the humans previously stopped attacking for some reason. So what ended this great human war that lasted for at least 100 years? Well, clearly humans and fish have a much more peaceful relationship now. The entire SpongeBob SquarePants show is made by humans with the help of certain fish, including Mr. Krabs, who used to fight against them. What if the reason why the war ended was because of this show? The original human research team that was mentioned in the SpongeBob Pitch Bible showed the world that Bikini Bottom had extremely intelligent life and proved that instead of killing the fish, they could peacefully profit off of them by making their lives into a TV show. SpongeBob doesn't even know it, but I think he might be the reason why a 100-year-long brutal war between humans and fish has come to a peaceful end. And that is the human war theory.
This nigga SpongeBob not even a fucking fish, dawg.
So, in 2021, Nickelodeon released a new spin-off show all about Patrick, called The Patrick Star Show.
Hi! I'm Patrick Star, and I live with my parents! This is my dad! This is my mom! This is my sister! This is my grandpa! And this is my show!
And I was really interested in it because it seems to kind of acknowledge the fact that it is a TV show, with Patrick actually being filmed and putting on a show as part of the plot of each episode.
Coming to you from the Star Family home, it's time for the Patrick Show!
It's weird. It's supposed to be a prequel when Patrick was still living with his family, but the Patrick's parents and sister characters that were established in the main show have been replaced by completely different people in this spin-off. This has been a long-running mystery about the Patrick Star Show that many people have asked me to talk about, but a storyboard artist for the Patrick Star Show actually addressed these contradictions in a very funny Twitter thread where he offers many different possible explanations for why Patrick's family looks different. These range from Patrick just perceiving reality too.
Alright, so since the Krabby Patty theory was one that I've already seen before, we gonna fill in that little space with this last one right here, the Pinhead Larry the Lobster theory. Alright, like I said, if you want to watch these other theories that he's mentioning, go watch them. Alright, I'm not gonna watch them for you, bro, but I'm gonna leave the full video down in the description below for y'all, so y'all can go watch the full video yourself. Alright, let's hop into it, bro.
In the Season 2 episode, Survival of the Fittest, Sandy Sleep talks about fighting two infamous criminals named Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
I've had enough of your dastardly deeds, Dirty Dan.
Dirty Dan!
And your partner, Pinhead Larry.
She later mistakes SpongeBob and Patrick for the criminal duo, and attacks and even buries them alive with their own gravestones. It's obviously an iconic episode, but I've always wondered who exactly were Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
All right, Pinhead, your time is up.
Who you calling Pinhead?
Were they real people, or were they just someone Sandy made up? Are they legendary outlaws she heard about, or someone she actually fought from her past? It's a hard question to answer because they're really only mentioned in this one episode. The best we get later on is the words "Dirty Dan was here" written in graffiti on the back of a gym. Or that's at least what I thought, until I saw the Season 11 episode, Shopping List, where SpongeBob and Sandy travel to a snowy mountain and we briefly see them pass by two graves labeled Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry. So we know they were definitely real people. Now, in the episode, Sandy seems kind of familiar with this area, and these are the exact same graves she recreated for SpongeBob and Patrick. So this seems to be implying that her dream was actually based off of a real memory of her fighting and
once
killing
again,
Dirty
imagination,
Dan and Pinhead Larry.
dreams, nigga.
Except there's one problem with that. How did Dirty Dan write this graffiti if he's supposed to be dead? I mean, I know it's not like we see when this graffiti was written, but it wasn't left on just any old random gym. It was written on the back of Larry the Lobster's gym. A gym that we saw Larry open in Season 9.
What you see before you is the culmination of my lifelong dream, Larry's Gym.
Meaning this graffiti must have been written long after Sandy would have fought and killed Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry.
He on the song.
How is this possible? How could Dirty Dan write this on Larry's gym if he's supposed to be dead? I think this means that the real Dirty Dan and probably also Pinhead Larry are not actually dead. They probably faked their deaths and are alive somewhere in Bikini Bottom. But where, and more importantly, who are they? Wait a second. Why would Dirty Dan write that he was here at this specific gym? Larry's gym. You don't think Larry the Lobster could be Pinhead Larry? That sounds stupid. Or does it? I mean...
Wait, nah. Of course that was a Photoshop, right? Had to be. Or was that the actual like picture, bro? Hold on.
That sounds stupid.
Was that the actual pic? Yeah, nah, that's just Photoshop.
Or does it? I mean, it would explain why Dirty Dan would risk exposing that he's still alive at a place Sandy probably frequents. Maybe he's leaving a message for his former criminal partner. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So, they're both named Larry, and you definitely could say he has a pin-shaped head.
Living like Larry.
Larry is friends with Sandy, and he definitely isn't a criminal, right? Maybe we need to take a closer look at our lobster friend. So, I rewatched every single appearance of Larry the Lobster in all 14 seasons of SpongeBob.
He's a
and here's
goat,
what I learned.
nigga.
Larry cares a lot about staying in shape and working out, to an obsessive degree.
My latissimus dorsi has gone flabby. I've got to get to a rowing machine.
He also hates when anyone else is out of shape and will do anything in his power to help them get fit.
Those poor people. Someone needs to whip them into shape.
Looking out at this sea of flaccid muscles and sagging flesh, frankly, I'm disgusted.
Push it! Push it!
Apparently, he was also raised
thought
by
he said
these two
bullshit.
fish.
But you guys are way too old and unsightly for my beach.
So polite.
Just like we raised him.
And to further confirm this, the same old lady fish later says this during the Alaskan bullworm incident.
We should call my nephew.
Sounds like she could definitely be referring to Larry here, so I do think they're supposed to be his aunt and uncle. We also know he loves protein shakes.
Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
He used to be a lifeguard, but recently fulfilled his lifelong dream of opening up a massive gym.
The culmination of my lifelong dream. A place of my own where I can work out every day, anytime I want.
He's not the most complex character, and there's definitely nothing here to indicate that he's the former infamous outlaw Pinhead Larry. Except for one teeny tiny detail in the season 12 episode, The Nitwitting. In this episode, we very briefly see Larry working out at his gym, but we can clearly see that he's drinking a kelp shake. And that wouldn't mean anything to you unless you remembered the season 4 episode, Best Frenemies. In this episode, a new restaurant opens up selling something called a kelp shake.
Ah, a new store on my block.
Everyone's enjoying a delicious kelp shake.
They pop up out of nowhere, and we never find out who was really running them. The kelp shakes have an initial bad taste, but they are extremely addictive.
This tastes like a wet gym sock. Hey, this ain't half bad. This is amazing.
Like, to the point where people basically get hooked on it like a drug.
Krabs, we're all out of juice. Well, we gotta get more.
The Kelp Shake restaurant is later shut down, and the shakes are banned because apparently they have some kind of radioactive material in them.
What's happening to me?
It'll take decades to clean this hazardous material up.
I sure feel sorry for whoever drank this.
But then why does Larry have the same banned Kelp Shake 8 seasons later? Maybe this is just a random throwaway Easter egg? I mean, we never see him with a Kelp Shake again, just the generic protein shakes. Except, let's take a closer look at those protein shakes. In the season 11 episode, Larry the Floor Manager, Larry briefly takes over as manager of the Krusty Krab and turns it into a gym.
Now we only serve salad and protein power shakes.
He forces SpongeBob to sell protein shakes, and even though the cups look different, the color of the liquid is the exact same as the Kelp Shake. They even seem to have the same initial bad taste.
You like?
No, Larry. No.
I think every time Larry drinks or sells a Kelp Shake, he is actually selling the illegal, addictive Kelp Shakes from Best Frenemies. Now, we never see anyone grow any green hair, but knowing what we know about Larry, there's no way he would be drinking it himself if it had the same side effects. I think Larry was the one behind the original Kelp Shake restaurants. But after they were banned, he tweaked the recipe and started secretly reselling them as rebranded protein shakes. How else do you even explain Larry having the same kelp shake here 8 seasons after they were banned unless he's the one making them? In Squid Plus One, he even admits that he's the one who makes his protein shakes.
I just need to stop by the apartment and make myself a protein shake.
This explains how a lifeguard could suddenly afford to open a massive gym. He's secretly a kelp shake drug lord kingpin. And if you still don't believe me, we see Larry standing next to a protein shake store called Protein Fiend that has a green kelp logo and the word kelp shake on the sign, clearly referencing the kelp shake. And this is also the episode with the Mrs. Puff newspaper, so you know the creators were like in a hiding lore mood. There are too many connections here for this to be a coincidence. Larry the Lobster is the criminal mastermind behind the kelp shakes. But does this also mean that he was the former infamous criminal, Pinhead Larry, who faked his death? Well, believe it or not, Larry the Lobster has also had a near-death experience in his past. In Squid Plus One, Larry mentions that the protein shakes saved his life.
You don't need that glop.
Oh, I wouldn't call it glop. Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
Like, what does that even mean? Okay, hear me out. What if this is how he survived his death? Sandy killed him and his partner, but the radioactive properties of the kelp shakes brought him back to life.
Protein shakes saved my life, bro.
So, of course, Larry would continue to drink and sell these kelp shakes. They literally saved his life. Even if they're radioactive and illegal, to him, this is a way to help himself and everyone around him become stronger, the thing we know he wants most of all. It explains why he gets so defensive when Squidward insults his protein shakes.
I love protein shakes.
Okay, but there's still an obvious issue here. If Sandy killed Pinhead Larry, why doesn't she recognize him now? Well, I think we get a possible explanation to this in the Camp Coral spin-off episode, Game Night, where the camp counselors play a board game called Lobster Trap. If you take away the beard and the eye patch, the lobster on the box looks exactly like Larry. A direct clue about Larry the Lobster being a criminal. Just like that Flying Dutchman game, I think this game is based on the real legendary criminal Pinhead Larry. This explains why Sandy wouldn't recognize Larry the Lobster. Either this is a criminal disguise he wore, or, and I'm just speculating here, it's actually what he used to look like and the healing properties of the kelp shake fixed his eye. And if you're still not convinced about Larry's criminal connections, I've saved my best evidence for last. Remember that old lady that raised Larry?
So polite. We should call my nephew.
She's just a sweet old lady. There's no way she would have raised a criminal mastermind, right? Well, in the Season 9 episode, Patrick Man, she is revealed to be none other than the Dirty Bubble.
Oh, dear. The Dirty Bubble?
This random old lady was actually one of the most notorious criminals in Bikini Bottom all along. Man Ray's partner in crime, the Dirty Bubble.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy's arch nemesis, the Dirty Bubble.
And I know what you're thinking. Maybe this is just a disguise he wore in this one episode. It doesn't necessarily mean this old lady has always been the Dirty Bubble, but I checked everywhere, and I can confidently say that we have never seen the Dirty Bubble and this lady in the same scene. And she's a pretty common background character. Also, she lives in the same retirement home as the Dirty Bubble's nemesis, and we see her constantly in the background watching them. She is literally the perfect cover for the Dirty Bubble to spy on them. But most damning of all, this old lady is friends with and even went to high school with Man Ray.
Why, hello, Ray.
Mabel! I haven't seen you since high school.
Larry the Lobster was raised by the Dirty Bubble, explaining how he became the infamous criminal known as Pinhead Larry. And wait a second. Pinhead Larry was raised by the Dirty Bubble? The only criminal we know in the show whose entire gimmick is being dirty. Holy sh! The Dirty Bubble is Dirty Dan! It fits too perfectly. This would also explain how Dirty Dan faked his death. The Dirty Bubble is constantly being killed and later brought back to life with a bubble blower. The Dirty Bubble and Larry the Lobster were the infamous criminal duo Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry. After nearly being killed by Sandy, they changed their identities and split up. The Dirty Bubble continuing his criminal pursuits with his new partner Man Ray, and Larry the Lobster choosing a more subtle approach by secretly selling illegal kelp shakes. And even though they've been apart for years now, the Dirty Bubble still left a little reminder to his old partner. Dirty Dan was here. Yes, he certainly was. And that is the Pinhead Larry the Lobster theory, and that is the end of Alex Bale's SpongeBob Conspiracies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, that was good. I ain't gonna lie, man. That was a very great video. Shout out to Alex Bale. Shout out to bro getting those theories in. I've been watching bro theories, especially the SpongeBob shit, since high school. So that's fire, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Like, for him to just, you know what I'm saying, end it off like these with all the theories. You feel me? All these mini theories. You know, let me know down below if y'all want any specific videos y'all want me to react to. Alright. Or hit me on my socials, okay? We will react to more conspiracies. I'm fucking with the conspiracies, bro. I'm telling you, I'm gonna think outside the box type of nigga. So when it come to this type of shit, it just juicy for me. It's just juicy, nigga. You feel me? But yeah, bro. It also bring more clarity to like TV shows like that you used to watch as a little nigga. Like, it bring more clarity to them, because it's people that actually be thinking, that actually be, like he said, watching all the episodes, looking at certain key points, looking at certain things, and just catching it, like, you feel me, and putting it all together like a puzzle. You feel me? Like, that's fire, to be able to bring clarity to other people, to let you know, like, okay, this what this was, and this what, you feel me? That's fire. You feel me? But this nigga Mr. Krabs is under the fucking Krusty Krab, dog. Like, that's really blowing my mind right now. But I'm out, y'all. I appreciate y'all for sticking to the end, vibing with a nigga. I'm out.